It's basically blackmail and bribery. Candace called it the lowest possible approach, and she wasn't wrong. Blake tried to act like she was the face of women's equality, but behind the scenes, she was a total tyrant. Her own lawyers privately agreed their case was flimsy. They hoped the media storm would carry them to victory, but once Candace uncovered this, it was game over for Blake. Hollywood finally woke up. The people who usually bow to every celebrity meltdown decided enough was enough. Once Hollywood turned against Blake, she lost the only protection she had. She got stuck as a sinking ship, and everyone jumped off to save themselves. Candace said that in March 2020, major executives refused to offer Blake public support anymore. She got abandoned by her talent agency too. None of the streaming platforms want to give her new projects. She's seen as poison. This situation is the worst downfall for someone who thought she was unstoppable. Meanwhile, the public started to side with Baldoni. In January 2025, 40% believed his story, but by March that jumped to 60%. People aren't dumb. They saw the truth once real proof came out. On social media, Blake is being called the next Amber Heard because the pattern is similar: faking victimhood, spreading false stories, messing up in court, and then the entire plan falling apart in front of the world. Candace found it amusing that Blake is basically repeating Amber's playbook. She lied, shifted her tale around, tried to smear her ex-partner, and used feminism as a shield. But we all know how it ended for Amber Heard, and it looks like the same fate for Blake. Her hypocrisy is on full display, and the internet has no sympathy. Blake triggered a meltdown all by herself. Candace said this is what happens when you rely on corruption and deception. Former allies of Blake in Hollywood, like Jenny Slate, have gone silent because they know Blake is doomed. Nobody wants to be associated with a manipulator. Candace hammered home the fact that Blake once considered herself tight with powerful people, but they're all ditching her now that she's proven to be worthless. She miscalculated. She thought she had an army of supporters, but they fled the minute her lies got revealed. In the end, Candace delivered a brutal reality check. Hollywood doesn't believe Blake's lies, the public doesn't, the media doesn't, and no amount of wealth, fame, or connections can change that. Blake Lively burned everything down by trying to ruin Justin Baldoni with fake accusations. Now she's left with a shattered image and a cloud of scandals. Candace basically guaranteed there is no comeback for Blake. Her meltdown is permanent. She tried to spin the story, but the receipts proved her wrongdoing. She has no one to blame but herself, and the public has seen her true colors. Candace closed by telling viewers to stay tuned for more brutal truth, making it clear that Blake Lively's downfall is complete. Candace pointed out that if Blake's story was actually true, she wouldn't keep changing it. The entire fiasco was a flimsy PR move to tarnish Baldoni's career while making Blake look oppressed. Candace saw right through it, and anyone with a functioning brain did too. Blake was so desperate, she even accused Baldoni of being part of some weird category of adult entertainment. She and her crew threatened to ruin him by branding him a monster through big media outlets.
You came at them with a figurative their head. And you put his family in the basement. I'm sorry the public noticed.
It was pure cruelty. Candace declared that Blake Lively is a fake feminist. She acts like she cares about women's rights only when it benefits her. She was loud during the Me Too movement, pretending she wanted to hold bad people accountable, but here she was, using the same underhanded tactics to smear a man without due process. All of Blake's "we need justice" speeches were worthless since she was behind this smear job.
The reality is these Hollywood types, they think we are all stupid.
Candace openly mocked how Blake claims to hate Hollywood corruption, yet uses corrupt methods herself. People also noticed a change in Blake's behavior. She used to be rude to reporters and act like she was above everyone. She didn't enjoy meeting fans and treated them like they were beneath her. Then suddenly she flipped her attitude, thinking people wouldn't notice. Candace highlighted Blake's 2018 interviews where she talked about how PR teams twist narratives.
We are so dumb. All they need is a PR machine and the right reporter at the Hollywood Reporter and the right reporter at the Daily Mail and Page 6, whatever it is, and they'll tell us what to think.
Candace said it was only a matter of time before major Hollywood execs backed away, leaving Blake with nothing. Talent agency WME distanced themselves. Streaming giants like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon refused to work with her. She became toxic in the industry because no one wants to trust a known manipulator. Candace said it was a season of harvest for Blake, meaning she's finally reaping the consequences of her actions. She can't twist or bribe her way out anymore. Her entire house of cards collapsed. She tried to keep her meltdown a secret, but Candace exposed everything. Hollywood basically blacklisted her because she crossed a line you can't uncross. She tried to manipulate the entire system, and she failed. Even Ryan Reynolds got dragged into the mud. He's not so funny now that people see him meddling in this sham. Candace had receipts showing text messages from Ryan to Sony in July 2024, trying to push them to get rid of Baldoni. The nicest guy in Hollywood mask fell off. Fans realized he's not as friendly as he pretended to be. He sat back and let Blake throw around insane accusations, but jumped in once their brand was in trouble. People saw the switch and pointed out how fake it all was. Candace called him a narcissist, which he basically proved by strolling down the red carpet, pointing at Blake like a trophy, while they both knew they were lying. Candace zeroed in on how Blake looked at that SNL appearance. She appeared anxious, as if she knew everyone hated her. She didn't want to be there. She recognized the public wasn't on her side anymore. Candace roasted Blake's entire approach to handling the media. The incompetence is mind-blowing. Every plan Blake tried boomeranged. She made statements in March 2025 about how traumatized she was, but it all felt like a performance. She was fine a few months earlier, so why the tears now? She wanted to bury Baldoni in scandalous headlines, but major outlets fact-checked and discovered her contradictions. She threw out random subpoenas in hopes of scaring or silencing people, but it just made her look foolish. Candace ridiculed how ridiculous Blake became, calling these moves pathetic. Then the Taylor Swift fiasco came along, and it flopped in the worst possible way. The evidence reportedly indicates that Lively's role is far more pivotal than anyone first suspected, setting off a frenzy among fans and critics alike. With these findings now in the spotlight, questions swirl about the industry-wide consequences.
The one thing that Deadpool is the most coveted of is, of course, Dogpool. We know that Dogpool is Blake Lively.
She had no counter-arguments when Candace revealed the facts. People guessed she was throwing things and yelling at Ryan Reynolds, probably telling him to call tabloids to help rescue her image.
And I had heard that and known that about her since my days that I was working at Glamour magazine, that she was like really mean to people.
Blake even tried to invoke Swift's name like some sort of wizard spell, but Swift's camp shut her down immediately. Candace said that if Blake really had a case, she wouldn't need all these theatrics. A strong case stands on facts, not on celebrity name-dropping or threats. Blake ended up friendless. Her PR team is a joke, Ryan Reynolds is exposed, big media is no longer defending her, and Taylor Swift wants no part of the drama. Candace tore through it all like a hammer through glass, leaving Blake standing in the middle of her own destroyed reputation. Candace also joked about wanting to see the Taylor Swift text messages, which probably show Blake begging and planning her attacks with Ryan. She's confident the texts are embarrassing. She says the only reason Blake resorted to these shady moves is because she didn't have real evidence. If she did, she would have gone straight to court instead of relying on bribes and illusions. The leaked audio from Ari Emanuel confirmed that Blake's team pushed reporters to label Baldoni as a danger and forced Hollywood execs to take sides. She put so much effort into tricking people into seeing her as a victim, but Candace shined a light on her games. Blake's manipulative tactics had no good intentions. Think about how Baldoni must have felt. At his own movie premiere, he was forced into the basement while Blake and her crew danced and celebrated above him. They nearly ruined him. It shows how heartless Blake can be. After Candace revealed the truth,
when Blake started getting all this bad press, obviously she did not believe, and this is true Blake, my understanding of her is she's like a true narcissist. She's not very smart. She just wants to be rich and famous and have rich friends, okay?
Blake went into full panic mode. She tried to hide, but it was too late. Candace's takedown shows what happens when someone fakes a victim story. If you lie long enough, eventually a smart person like Candace will step in and call you out. Blake thought she could get away with everything by using feminist buzzwords, paying off the media, and acting like she was unstoppable.
And they were denying that Ryan Reynolds had anything to do with it. Those were PR teams that were working overtime behind the scenes.
Candace showed that none of that would work this time. Hollywood elites like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds think fans are clueless. They imagine everyone believes whatever they say. Blake wanted to fool people into thinking she was a sweet actress fighting a mean man. But Candace revealed that Blake is sneaky, two-faced, and obsessed with her own image. Blake tried to weaponize the press, and it backfired big time.
He's a very scary, creepy guy. We found the creep. It's Ryan Reynolds.
Candace told everyone to imagine what Justin Baldoni and his family must have felt, knowing they could have been labeled as vile criminals if nobody had stepped in. It shows how much harm Blake was willing to cause. The internet exploded after learning how low Blake would go just to gain sympathy.